Okay, so basically today is July 18th, and it was just basically released by the whoever did the autopsy, the chief medical examiner who did the autopsy on Kevin Samuels, basically that his cause of death, as they saw it, was hypertension. Now, I want to just take you back a little bit to when this actually happened. I believe it was almost 2 months ago. There was a whole lot of speculation as to what happened to Kevin Samuels. You had some people claiming that he was killed. You had some people claiming he was murdered. You had some people claiming he was purposefully overdosed on drugs. You had some people claiming that he was doing performance enhancing drugs in order to have sex with younger women. You had some people claiming that he was snorting cocaine. You had some people claiming that he was doing all types of stuff. And there was a lot of speculation. There was a lot of people in the manosphere, these morons. I always say, listen, allow science to do its thing. Allow science to do the tests, take his body, do the autopsy, let that come back and tell you what exactly happened. And I've learned that, I've known that for a while. Because the thing about it is, especially in a case like this, you're pretty much dealing with a third party who's going to be pretty much impartial. And they're going to take the body, they're going to look it over, they're going to dissect the heart, they're going to look in the lungs, they're going to look in the brain, so forth and so on. And they're going to basically chop you up like chitlins, and they're going to figure out exactly what killed you. Anything that's in your blood, it's going to come out on the report. Anything that they think that you had for breakfast or lunch or dinner, it's all going to be there. If somebody poisoned you, it's going to show up. So, for the most part, hypertension is what killed him. But let's understand something. Kevin Samuels was not a healthy man. He was a cancer survivor. People want to, make it look like they came out of cancer stronger and everything. So they call themselves cancer survivors instead of cancer victims. Okay, fine. But the reality was, Hodgkin's can give you a higher risk of different types of heart disease. So basically, from when I heard what was said by Alcantara Hortensia, who was the young female nurse that he was sleeping with, who was there at the time of his death, she claimed that he fell on top of her. He's a heavy guy. He's a taller guy, this, that, and other. And when you listen to it, it really didn't sound like anything, like it was a setup or anything. But let's understand something. Hypertension is one of the leading killers of black men. Now, this guy had Hodgkin's. Now, it's basically a blood disease, it's a cancer, and it weakened his body. Because as you know, cancers have the ability to move all over the body, and when they get to different parts of the body, they can start growing abnormally. So the thing about it is, hypertension is something that a lot of people suffer with. I've had friends who've died of hypertension. I know people in real life who've died of hypertension. Hypertension typically causes depression and anxiety. It causes heart disease or it leads to heart disease. I can say it can lead to heart disease. It can cause sexual problems, obviously, because anything that affects your heart can affect your sexuality. It can definitely cause stroke. If it can cause stroke, because of the fact that you have usually higher blood pressure, it can cause kidney disease. You may notice that there's a lot of people, especially these athletes, who are dropping dead on the fields. Like they're playing football, they're playing basketball. They're just dropping dead. And the thing about it is high blood pressure can cause any number of problems, including death. It can cause loss of vision. It can cause bone loss because your blood isn't properly moving around your body. It's not feeding your cells properly. It's not feeding your bone cells properly. So the reality is, hypertension causes nephropathy, myocardial infractions, hypertensive cardiomyopathy, elevated sugar levels. Do you know anybody who's a diabetic? A lot of people who suffer from diabetes have hypertension and vice versa. A lot of people who have hypertension can suffer from diabetes because their pancreas gets damaged. How about the brain? You can have some cerebrovascular issues such as strokes. You can have encephalopathy, confusion, headaches, convulsion. Now, one of the reasons why everybody basically suggested that Kevin Samuels, was doing drugs was basically because every time we watch his show, the guy's drinking Red Bull. Now, I don't know if you know this, but there's actually a story that's on the internet where there was a guy this guy was drinking so many Red Bulls, literally they had to remove part of the dude's skull. So this was the story right here. California dad loses part of his skull after drinking too many energy drinks. I will never give up on him because love is selfless and I love him more than life itself. He's talking about his son. So as you can see, I had heard secondhand, and it's possible that Facebook removed this because it may or may not have been true. But basically, this was the story that I'm referring to. Now, I've heard of people straight up dying from energy drinks, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that energy drinks could cause so much brain damage that you end up having a moonroof in your head. But this was the story that I'm referring to. And some people may call it a hoax. Some people may say it happened. Some people may say it didn't happen, and so forth and so on. But basically, this is the story, and it's been up here. I think somebody put it on Facebook. And you know how Facebook is. If you put anything up about Biden or how badly the economy is doing, automatically you get face checked and they seek to take down information. So to tell you the truth, I'm as an American right now in 2022, I honestly don't know who to believe. One thing I do know is not to believe the American media because they're straight up liars. But I usually get my news from overseas news sources or some independent news sources because these guys are all straight up liars. I mean, 1 second they're telling you about the ghost of Kyiv. The next second they're telling you that America's winning the war against Russia. But meanwhile, when you actually either go overseas and travel or you tune into any other channel, you see these European countries are folding. This morning you got Hungary declaring a state of emergency. Germany's scared that Russia's cutting off their gas supply. The euro's dropped to parity with the dollar. So me personally, I can't believe these people because they lie to me so much. Meanwhile, the second I post something on Facebook, I get fucking fact checked. Oh yeah, well, oh no, listen, independent researchers said that what you said about gas prices being $5.55, that's not because of Biden. That's because of something else. Blah blah fucking blah. So basically, not to get too far off the point, I'm just thankful that when Kevin Samuels died, the way he died not only happened in a way where his legacy that he started on YouTube would live on. Because basically, if you look anywhere on YouTube, you got the same other dudes in this manosphere nonsense. All of them are using his talking points. All of them are bringing up his name every single day. The dating scene, people are still bringing up his name, whether he's dead or not, because the women basically know that everything he was saying is right. You can call it shame, blame, and explaining, but the bottom line is everything he was saying, for the most part, was pretty accurate. And I think the situation's actually worse than most people would say. But I'm glad that he died that way because, number one, they were trying to discredit him the way they usually do with rappers or other artists. They were trying to say that he was an LGBT member, and they're trying to say he was gay because he had on heels, kitten heels, and this, that, and the other. You have these morons like Woman's Fear. Oh, yeah, call him Kitten Samuels, this, that, and the other. But the reality was the man was basically a conservative trying to do things the traditional way. He didn't understand that things were never going to go back to tradition. And he was pushing wearing suits and everything. He was pushing being a high-value man. Yeah, I mean, of all the worst things that you could be, propping up, we've got rappers talking about big booty hoes every 5 minutes. We got people swiping credit cards in women's asses. We got guys making it rain at the strip club. Yeah, but the second that somebody says, no, you should wear a suit and you should be a better man and you should be a gentleman and that you should carry yourself better and that you should look out for your name and this, that, and other, all of a sudden everybody jumps up and attacks that. Reminds me of Bill Cosby. The second he said, yeah, well, your problem is you got your kids walking around with their pants below their ass calling each other the N-word. Nobody seemed to have a problem with Bill Cosby up until then, but the moment that he came out with that shit, all of a sudden, now you got the woodwork, you got these leeches, these roaches, these filth, and these strags coming out to attack him. I don't remember Bill Cosby ever having a problem up until that point. And the second that you try to uphold values of some type, all of a sudden now you get attacked. Bottom line is, they were trying to discredit him. I'm glad he died this way. He died a good, clean, heterosexual death. He died with the female Hortensia Alcantara. She said that he fell on her and his head was in her breasts, and his head was on her chest and everything. I mean, you couldn't hope for a better death than that. I mean, look at this picture. Look at this picture. You couldn't hope for a better death than that. That's all. Meanwhile, all these chicks that were celebrating his death, they were saying he was a drug addict, that he needed performance-enhancing drugs and cocaine. All that's thrown out the window because the autopsy's back. And that's basically that.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
That's some bullshit.